Welcome to the deep dive. And wow, you've brought us a truly fascinating set of sources today.
I think so too.
It's not your typical, dry academic research. This feels more like a living document, a really personal reflection.
That's a great way to put it. It explores how real resilience is built when everything just collides at once. Disruption, new challenges, cultural identity.
Okay, so who are we talking about?
We're looking at excerpts from what feels like a hybrid textbook and story collection. At its heart, it's a dual reflection. We have a student, Aissatou, who is now actually at Yale,
Wow.
and we have her Korean language teacher, Sujin Choi Kim. So we get both sides of the story.
And our mission here is to synthesize these two accounts into something, actionable for you listening. We're going to track the student's journey from being just paralyzed by the fear of failure to becoming incredibly proactive.
And we'll link that growth to what you could call a very specific, almost subtle kind of cultural humility. We're really just trying to extract the roadmap for intellectual grit.
A roadmap, I like that. It's easy to follow.
It is, because the source material itself is so structured. It's broken down into what they call the narrative, the language snapshot, and the practice zone.
Okay.
We're going to be pulling insights from both the student's narrative and the teacher's reflections. It's not just about what they learned, but really digging into how they learned it.
Okay, so let's start with the student, with Aissatou. Tell us about her.
We meet her as a 15-year-old, the daughter of West African immigrants.
Yeah.
And her ambitions are, well, they're huge. She wants to be a diplomat.
A diplomat, okay. So that requires some intense cross-cultural skills right from the get-go.
Exactly. And her goal, her big goal, was to attend Yale. For her, high school wasn't just about classes. She saw it as the place where her dreams would, and this is her quote, grow like a tree.
Grow like a tree. That's such a powerful image of, hope and stability.
It is.
Yeah.
And it makes the disruption that comes next feel so much more devastating. I mean, she'd already had that initial shock when her 8th grade graduation was just on a screen.
Right. So she's already feeling that loss, that yearning for a real in-person high school experience. She's waiting for it, hoping for it.
And the source gives us the exact date that Dream effectively died. August 14th, 2020. That's the day the announcement comes down.
High school is starting online?
Her entire high school career, at least the start of it, would be completely virtual.
And how does she describe that feeling?
The language is so vivid. She was already, in her words, worn out from the last 4 months of sudden remote learning. So to hear that this huge transitional moment in her life would be stuck on a screen, she said it felt like being hit with a ton of bricks.
So was this just about the technology, or did the timing, the fact that it was the start of high school, make it that much more brutal?
Oh, it was absolutely the context.
Okay.
And she's brilliant about this in her narrative.
Okay.
It wasn't just about logging on for class. It was the loss of the essential human texture of school.
The little things.
The little things, exactly. She lists them. Raising her hand in class and being seen. Greeting friends in the hallways. The simple ritual of laughing with her parents about her day after school.
Making new friends.
All of it. The pandemic didn't just digitize our classes. It basically severed the human connections that make that transition so meaningful.
And that sets up this huge internal conflict for her, doesn't it? Because on top of all that general anxiety, she gets hit with the requirement to take a new, very challenging course. Korean. Which brings us to this battle against her own mental barriers.
Right. And her resistance was immediate. She says she vehemently argued with her mother about how useless learning Korean was. She even begged to be exempted from the class.
On the surface, that sounds like an argument about practicality or, course load.
It does, but her reflection makes it so clear that the real reason was much, much deeper. It was personal.
She wants to be a diplomat, a job that is all about cross-cultural skill, but her fear almost stops her from taking that very first step into a new culture.
She says it so plainly. Her biggest fear in life is failure. That's the core barrier. That one single anxiety was so overwhelming that she almost missed out on this incredible learning experience entirely.
And that's such a universal struggle, isn't it? I mean, how many times have you, listening, avoided starting a new project or pivoting your career because the thought of failing just felt catastrophic?
For her, Korean represented this maximum risk of public academic failure. It's just easier to call it useless than to face the possibility that she might struggle with it.
So what was the turning point? How did she make that psychological shift from seeing failure as a disaster to, I guess, seeing it as a tool for growth?
The breakthrough came when she realized, and truly accepted that failure is just a necessary part of life. It's feedback.
It's just data.
It's just data. She describes this aha moment where she sees that failure is actually a great way to achieve greater success.
That's the mindset shift right there. From I can't do this because I might fail to I might fail and that will tell me exactly what to do next.
Precisely. And once she made that shift, once she really internalized it, that's when she was able to truly fall in love with the complexity and beauty of the Korean language.
That is the intellectual resilience roadmap we're looking for. And the great thing is, the source material doesn't just leave us there with that nice idea. It shows us how she put it into practice.
Yes, it moves from the narrative right into the practice zone, detailing her actual strategies.
That's the first one.
The first pillar is practice. But it's all about consistency, not intensity. She didn't block out, 3 hours on a Saturday to cram.
Okay, so what did she do?
She dedicated at least 10 minutes every single day. In her Korean notebook, practicing writing, reviewing new vocabulary.
Just 10 minutes. That detail is so important because it makes this huge, daunting task feel so much more approachable.
Right. It minimizes that mental hurdle of just getting started. It keeps the skill active in your brain and builds a routine that's almost impossible to break, even when you're just exhausted from staring at a screen all day.
Okay, so consistency is pillar one. What's the second?
Proactivity. This shows her commitment to just continuous improvement. She made sure she had the courage to go to tutoring sessions even when she didn't think she needed to.
That's a huge lesson for any high-level learner. You're not going because you're drowning. You're going to strengthen a skill you already have.
Exactly. You're using support as an enhancement tool, not just a rescue boat. It's reframing tutoring from remediation to optimization.
Love that. Okay, what's the third strategy?
The third is asking questions. And this really tackles the public nature of failure, doesn't it? She just made a conscious choice not to be afraid to ask when she was struggling.
Viewing it not as showing ignorance, but as an opportunity to learn.
An opportunity to learn more. And that takes real courage, especially for a 15-year-old on a Zoom call, where the silence after you ask a question can feel just deafening.
So you have the cognitive shift failure is growth, and it's backed up by this clear application. Consistent practice, proactive optimization, and courageous questioning.
And it was all held together by her guiding philosophy, which came from a Helen Keller quote. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence.
It's a complete system.
It really is. Mindset plus method.
The strategies she used are just brilliant. But what's so fascinating is that what really unlocked her learning wasn't just this internal drive, it was a subtle act of cultural respect.
Yes.
And that leads us right into the incredible reflection from her teacher, Soojin Choi Kim. We're shifting from the struggle with the content to the humility needed to approach the culture.
And this is where we see the deep connection between identity and learning. So the teacher, Soojin Choi Kim, remembers Aissatou's very first introduction to the class.
What happened?
Knowing that in Korea, the family name traditionally comes first, Aissatou introduced herself as Soo Aissatou.
Last name, first name.
Exactly.
That seems like such a tiny detail, but for the teacher, it was profound.
It was. She didn't just see a student who'd done a quick Google search. She saw a demonstration of respecting the other, an act of humility as a learner.
She saw a serious desire to actually engage with the culture.
The teacher realized that this student had learned, maybe unconsciously, how to lower her own position, to adapt her own cultural framework, before she even learned a single Korean sentence. She led with respect, not just grammar.
It's the ultimate icebreaker, isn't it? It shows, before you even say anything, that you value their culture enough to adapt your own most fundamental marker of self.
And this small act triggered a much deeper reflection from the teacher about her own immigrant experience.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, the teacher, who was Kim Soojin in Korea, became Soojin Choi Kim in the U.S. So first, her name got reversed to the American order. First name, last name. A sequence she says she still struggles with mentally.
That's so relatable. She says it out loud, but in her mind, her family name still comes first. It's like this constant silent friction.
Yes. And then came the other quiet identity shift. Losing her family name, Kim, when she got married, and taking her husband's name, Choi. She describes feeling like something was cut away.
Like a bureaucratic paper cut. A silent erasure of her identity just by following standard procedure.
Exactly. Her entire lineage, her parents, grandparents, her whole childhood, all contained in the name Kim, just sort of silently erased from her documents.
So if we put these two stories together, the students and the teachers, we see these two really powerful but different acts of what you could call awkward adaptation.
That's a perfect term for it.
Aissatou, the student, voluntarily pushes her name forward, Sue Aissatou, to respectfully enter this new culture. It's an act of educational humility.
And the teacher, the immigrant, had to push her name back and change it to fit into the new society she was already part of, an act of societal assimilation, both making these awkward adjustments to their name.
And the teacher's ultimate insight from watching Aissatou was that the student's goal wasn't just to learn a language or pass a test.
No, not at all. She realized Aissatou was practicing, from day one, how to put herself into the world of the other. And she started with the most basic element of her identity.
Her name.
Her name. And in that moment, the teacher saw Aissatou as a mirror of her own journey. Another person who had crossed a boundary, holding one of these subtly adapted names.
It just underscores this idea that cultural humility isn't some soft skill. It's an essential prerequisite for any real lasting learning.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean for us? For the listener who might be navigating a new job, learning a complex new skill, entering a different kind of culture, this deep dive seems to offer a few key takeaways.
I think so. First, that intellectual resilience during any kind of disruption, a pandemic, a career shift, it only comes after you deliberately confront your own fear of failure. You have to be willing to see mistakes as fuel.
Aissatou turned her fear into a structured, consistent practice.
She did. And second, deep learning, whether it's cultural or intellectual, it doesn't start with grand gestures. It starts with these incredibly small, subtle acts of humility.
Applying knowledge effectively means you need the courage to make mistakes, but also the humility to adapt your own frame of reference.
It's a blueprint, really. Be proactive, practice consistently, embrace your mistakes, and lead with respect for the new world you're trying to enter.
It's a great reminder that learning is never purely academic. It's always deeply tied to our identity and how we negotiate our place in the world.
And these sources show us that identity is fluid. It's constantly being negotiated. Which leads to a final thought we want to leave you with. Think about this. What is one cultural convention or a deeply ingrained personal habit that you've had to subtly change or awkwardly adapt just to meet a new situation, maybe a new job or in a new community? And what deeper emotional cost or maybe benefit did that change bring to your sense of self? It's a negotiation we all undertake whenever we choose to step outside our comfort zone and truly engage with the world of the other.